Not the sports news on omniaudio.africa with Romy Titus and Kevin McCallum.
So we're joined by Kriya Gangiah. I probably said that wrong. Is that right?
That sounds right. We'll ask Kriya.
We'll ask you now. F1 analysis for SuperSport. Kriya, have you been watching the practice this morning, obviously in Australia? I see Leclerc led the second practice. What do you make of that?
Well, first I have to say, when a race happens in Australia, I catch up with it the next morning because it's so early.
Yeah. I was up at 4.
Yeah. Well, you guys are on air at 4 o'clock in the morning. Some of the rest of us have to sleep in a bit. No, I'm joking. First, you definitely got my surname right. Second, I have been obviously checking up and seeing exactly what's happening. It's quite interesting to see that Leclerc is there as well as the two McLarens. But free practice never really gives you the full picture. It just kind of gives you an understanding that the drivers are pushing, where they kind of are, what cars are struggling and how they're struggling. Having a look and seeing the fact that Lewis Hamilton was 0.4 seconds behind in terms of fifth place. It also shows that he's still getting used to the car, getting used to adjusting to it, all of those sorts of things. So that's more what free practice is kind of about.
But I mean, you're not pushing all the way out here, are you? I mean, you're kind of feeling it as a driver for yourself before you give your all on race day. So is this really something for us to go by in terms of how it's going to end at the very first race of the F1?
It's something that I say when it comes to pre-practice in Bahrain before the Grand Prix kicks off. Same thing with free practice before races. It's never a true indication. Also, drivers have different temperaments. So maybe, we're seeing Leclerc up there now at the moment in pole position. But then we all know that Lando Norris has a great qualifying temperament.
Yeah.
So maybe he's going to push faster in qualifying, end up first when it comes to the grid for Sunday. But then maybe Oscar Piastri, it's his home race. Australia, he wants to push a little harder. He wants to win a home race. So maybe he ends up taking it on Sunday. So you kind of have to judge all the qualities as they come in their each individual silos and then put it together for race weekend.
So Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari. Lewis was struggling in FP1. He said he couldn't turn the car, and he was speaking to the pits. Do you think they're a match made in heaven? I mean, like I said, he was struggling to turn the car in, but I think he just lifted almost the character of the team already.
No, look, Lewis comes with a lot of media buzz and a lot of media hype. You can't deter from that. So obviously he's always going to bring a new audience with him. And the fact that he is at the moment the GOAT in the sport. So he's going to bring a big audience with him. What I will say is, let's take you and I, right? You go from your student car, it's a little 1 liter, you've driven it your whole life, and you buy your first brand new BMW, and it's amazing. As a driver, even yourself, it's going to take you a little bit of time to get comfortable with that car. The car doesn't corner the same. It doesn't brake the same. It doesn't accelerate the same. So everything is different in this vehicle. And it's not like Lewis has had months and months and months to kind of get used to the new Ferrari. He's got to hit the ground running, but he's coming straight out from Mercedes-Benz and into a Ferrari. So just like you and I know we aren't professionals in the sport. We aren't the 20 best drivers in the world. But if it takes you and I a little bit of time to get used to a brand new car, you can expect the same coming from Lewis.
I mean, you've said it, Kriya, in terms of just the hype around Louis. Everything is red. We're all waiting. It's exciting. But
I'm even wearing red today.
Look at you. I should also. But let's just talk about the influx. I mean, of women as well, who are now following F1, who are turning on the television, who are learning the rules, the players' names. I mean, it does help that Louis is great eye candy. But apart from that, Louis Vuitton also coming on board. So it definitely is a movement, not so much only for the men as it was in the past, but women are following the sport too now.
It's one of the things that I've said that Liberty Media has done fantastically well. That's the company that owns Formula One. Is one, Drive to Survive has created a whole new generation of viewers. It's given it a little bit of extra fanfare and a little bit of extra understanding of the sport. Because at the end of the day, if you take it, it's 20 drivers going around a track 62 times. It's not the most riveting, exhilarating sport in the world. But the fanfare around it and the interest around it, I think, has really been sparked by the fact that they've made little areas that are a bit more accessible. I always take into consideration my partner used to hate Formula One, never watched it. I mean, we went to Monza and he fell asleep in the grandstands at Monza. Drive to
Oy.
Survive came out and he is hooked. He wants to follow all the drama. He knows all the drivers. He knows.
I take
this
it you
one
didn't
hates
dump
this
him
one.
when he fell asleep.
No, but I did after that. But no, so he obviously then got an appreciation for the sport because he understood a lot more around it. And I think that's what Liberty Media has done. From a female perspective, it is amazing. I am ecstatic that I'm seeing all of these Instagram accounts come up, people talking about it. Ladies are becoming experts in it. It's really nice to, one, not be the only female, and two, seeing it and seeing the love for the sport grow is really exceptional.
Yeah. Red Bull off the pace a little bit. Verstappen says the car is a bit slow. They're still working on it. They haven't fully developed. I see he's done in
I can tell you
seventh
now, I
place.
think he is going to struggle this season a little bit. He's definitely going to struggle, but you can see it just in his mentality and the way that he's approaching the season. I think, and everyone's going to shoot me for saying it, but I'll take it. I don't think he's going to win this season, and I don't think he wants to win it either.
So I'm
Who's winning then?
McLaren or Ferrari, I think.
Look, I have high hopes for Ferrari. I don't know if it's going to be Lewis. I do, however, feel, and I've been saying this to everyone, that I think Ferrari is preparing for 2026. It's a new era of car that's coming out. It's a new development that's coming out. And I think that's why they put Lewis in the seat in order to develop the cars for next year. But I definitely think that you need to watch out for McLaren and you need to watch out for Ferrari.
And Mercedes-Benz, any chance this season? Toto Wolff said he's quite happy with the drivers. They've got George Russell and the young Kimi. He's happy with them. Despite everyone saying he must go for Verstappen. Do you think they've got a bit of a chance? They're not very high up there, but Russell's down in 10th. He's just under a second off the pace.
Look, when it comes to Antonelli and to Russell, obviously Russell has experience in that car. He's driven it now for a couple of seasons. Antonelli is a rookie coming in. It's his brand new season. He's still got to get used to the car, get used to the team. I wouldn't count them out, but I also wouldn't put lots of money on it if I was a betting woman.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of considerations that need to come into place. I still don't think that Mercedes-Benz has that car right yet. And I think it's just a continuation from last season. And then again, also consider 2026. Are we going to put in the massive money into developing this car to try and win the season? Or are we going to use the season as a buffer, use it to train up our true drivers, let them get 100% acquainted with each other, and then push really hard for 2026 and build those cars, put in the massive money for the new season with the new gen?
Well, how do you compare, let's say yesteryear, Formula One racing to current modern day racing? Because it always seems to be changing all the time in terms of the weight of the cars, agility. It's about aerodynamics, but then it's also about, being kinder to the environment and the sustainable fuels, being used, a reduction in the downforce and the drag and all of those things. Do you think as we go, it becomes better, or do you think it becomes diluted?
So I think also something that needs to be considered, that Formula One, especially manufacturers, so like a McLaren, like a Ferrari, they use their Formula One cars to test a lot of their commercial vehicle parts. So you'll see a lot of parts that come out of a McLaren racing car going into a McLaren road car. So that's the first thing, that obviously, as the cars of today develop, so does the Formula One cars and the technology that's going into it. In a personal opinion, I think there's a lot of changes and challenges that change with it. It's the same thing. Let's take you and I as normal daily drivers. If we're sitting in an old school Honda Civic that doesn't have all the fancy technology that it had, we're straight out of varsity, 16 years old kind of vibes, that car drives a hell of a lot different to the Honda Civic that got released this year. And that's where it comes in. So yes, there are a couple of things that change, but the drivers have to change and adapt to it. So maybe this time around we have ABS, because we didn't have ABS when the car was launched all those many years ago. So we're a little bit easier when it comes to braking. But then we have to focus on all the other things. The downforce has changed. DRS has come into play. So I think as the sport goes, obviously, yes, I miss the old school days with the refueling and, the hardcore drivers, that it's pure skill. But there's also the new challenges that come up in the drivers of today. And they have to deal with all the media scrutiny. Geez, I would never want to have that on my head either.
Right. So your prediction for the weekend?
My predictions for the weekend, I think definitely look out for the boys in orange. I think the papayas are going to kind of come out guns blazing. And I would love to see Oscar Piastri win a home race. But keep an eye on Charles Leclerc. I think he's also going to want to prove to everybody in the world that, just because Lewis Hamilton is my teammate doesn't mean I can't drive.
Kriya, it's been a pleasure chatting. Thank you so very much for your time and good luck this weekend. Fingers crossed.
We'll speak soon.
Thanks. Enjoy it. Make sure you guys are up nice and early with a cup of coffee.
You too. I think you should make sure that you're up early.
You'll be in studio, surely.
Thank you so much. Kriya Gangiah there chatting to us about the F1. So very exciting. But I do think as all sports have evolved over the years. I mean, take a look at football as well. The ball from yesteryear to the ball that we use today. Every single ball, racket, tennis rackets, tennis balls. Technology that plays a very big part in sport.
There are going to be big changes in the Grand Prix from 2026. They're going to change. The cars going to be a bit smaller, and they're going to be more sustainable fuel. Speaking of sustainability, tell me about your new show. You've got a new show on omniaudio.africa.
It's not quite a new show, but thanks for asking, Kev. It's called Romy's Bafana Escapade. So what happens there is, over the last 3 years that I was media officer for Bafana, I've taken great videos. I have wonderful interviews with some of the players, like Lebogang Motiba's on there, Ashley Dupree, Cassius Mailula, the coach a couple of times. And I just thought, where could it live? Where could this audio live? Some interviews released, some not to media, but it's really just a nice portfolio, if you would, of the last 3 years of crisscrossing the African continent, and now that audio lives proudly on Omni Audio Africa.
Sounds like great storytelling. I mean, that's what we all do. We're entertainers and we tell stories.
Cassius tells you about just playing with Percy Tau and how he's always wanted to, and then he does, and studying, and that is actually something that Percy does. I think he's on his 4th degree or something like that. Ashley Dupree getting his very first call-up into the national team, and he says he calls his mother, who then bursts into tears on the other end. It's just really golden moments, and so as I kind of release them, it will kind of be a Lebo Motiba, who now is at Mamelodi Sundowns, his very first South African team. He's always played abroad, but if he's not in the team, and both these interviews I got with him, he wasn't in the team, but he's just there. Hi guys, good luck, I'm here to support you. The first one in France, and then the second one just before they left for Nigeria. So he's that type of player, just a good salt of the earth kind of person, And so you see their personality shine, and it's really just candid chats that I loved having.
Sounds like a must watch. I'll be doing that.
I must listen.
Sorry.
Yeah, I must listen, because this one is not so much watch. It's more listen.
And that's one thing I haven't done in my entire life, is listen to anybody.
I can hear. I mean, I said it's audios, you didn't listen.
Well, come and listen to us on Monday.
We'll be here with Kevin winning big. And it's a birthday on Monday.
He's turning 23.
21.
21.
Yeah.
Again.
Till then, cheerio.
Not the sports news on omniaudio.africa.